So with the Little Caesars, you and your brother acquire that franchise, and you are working in it 7 days a week.
Oh, yeah.
How did you go from working in that Little Caesars to on the Little Caesars and expanding, acquiring new franchises or building?
Yeah. So when I worked for the technology startup company, I worked 7 days a week. There was things I could be doing on the back end. I did sales, but there was things I could do prospecting wise on the weekends that I did when I had downtime. I didn't have children, and I wanted to keep making more money so I could start my own business. And I will say this, I get this question asked all the time. My son wants to start out, or my daughter wants to start out and be an entrepreneur. What advice do you have? Number one, go get a sales job. Do that with someone else, right? So I don't come from like generational money. Like everything to start my business was money I saved up. And the sad truth is sales jobs are the only jobs where you get to determine how much you make, not your boss. And so if you're more productive, you're more efficient, you can make more money. And that's what I was doing. I was making a lot of money. This is like 2003 numbers, but I was making $180,000 a year at the age of 23, 24, 25. And somehow, by the grace of God, I was smart enough to save it and not go buy nice big things like most people do. But that's where we got the money. Now, the reason we were both working in the business is because I blew my nut on that first location. There was no more cash, right? I had enough to live on for a little bit, but we really needed to master and get our genius level 10,000 hours in. And, both he and I working in it at basically free labor, we were able to make a lot of money. So 16 months later, we opened up our second Little Caesars, and then we started paying ourselves a little bit. And then 16 months later, we opened up 2 more. And it just became an exponential thing. But there was the momentum takes a while to build up, the inertia. So that's why we were both working in the business, because we needed to make as much money drastically as fast as we could. And that was the only way to do it, is get in there with the sweat equity.
And while you were growing that Little Caesars business into multiple locations, you were also looking at potential other opportunities, correct? And other franchises you could be involved in?
So we were in rural markets where any kind of real marketing other than like radio or TV was once a month. Okay, so 1 out of 4 weeks, I could have a really good, strong week because of marketing. The other 3 was just based on location. I didn't like that. So I started looking around what were some other options, and I discovered there was a brand called Valpak. It's a blue envelope. Most suburban cities, the wives for sure know about it because it's marketed towards the women because they make most of the consumer spending decisions. But we opened up a Valpak territory. It's 5 territories in Southern Illinois, just as another vehicle outlet for our Little Caesars. And of course, you're going to lose money if you're the only thing in it, and people aren't going to open it if you're the only thing in it. So I had to go out and hire salespeople, and we went out and met with business owners and tried to get them to advertise in the envelope. And during that process, I got to sit down and interview a lot of business owners and find out, how much money were they really making? Because if you ask certain questions, you can deduce what they're making, right? They're not going to come out and tell you X, Y, Z. That's kind of a personal question to most people. But, you ask what the margins are, what's your sales, what does it cost to get you a client? The funny thing is most of these business owners had no idea what it cost to get them a new client, right? They never tracked their marketing that way. So I realized that both in the carpet cleaning business and in the salon business, there were no salon owners that were savvy enough about marketing. And, not all business owners are created equal anyway. So I just figured if I could do just as good of a job in those 2 categories and do marketing well, I'll win every time. So I got into the next 2 brands because of my experience with Valpak and just interviewing other business owners.
So correct me if I'm wrong here, but it sounds like when you're deciding on which industry to explore in terms of franchises, you're looking for an industry that's fragmented and unsophisticated. Is that correct?
I'm in medical spas now, right? That's probably the antithesis of what you just described. A lot of regulation, a lot of highly developed and trained medical professionals. I'm really looking at 2 things, and I kind of put them in 2 different categories. I need to understand who the ideal customer and who the ideal employee is, and then it's about a return on my investment, the time. It's not the dollar amount, whether it costs $250,000 or $1 million per location open. I want to know how quick can I make that money back, because The truth is, wealth is a measurement of time. It's not a measurement of money. So what I try to do is look for investments that I'll make my entire money back in 36 months or less, entire investment. And that's talking about cash on hand and my debt service. So if something costs $500,000 open, I want to be able to make that back in 3 years or less.